Guardian whispers. The forbidden attic. The house stood like a specter against the twilight sky, an imposing mass of stone and wood consumed by time. The new tenants, the Meyer family, sought a fresh start, an escape from the city's clamor. What they found, however, was a nightmare rooted in the very foundations of the house. From the first night, the whispers began. Soft voices, almost imperceptible, seemed to emanate from the walls. At first, the Meyers attributed them to the wind seeping through cracks, the creaking of old wood. But the feeling of being watched, of an invisible presence lurking in the shadows, grew with each passing day. The attic, a dusty and forgotten extension under the eaves, became the epicenter of terror. A creaking staircase led to the darkness, where cobwebs hung like shrouds, and the air smelled of mold and unspoken secrets. The Meyers agreed to keep the door closed, sealing that space off from memory and curiosity. But the attic was not willing to remain silent. The whispers intensified, turning into indistinguishable murmurs that seemed to follow the family from room to room. Sheets moved on their own at night, caressing their faces with an inhuman coldness. Shadows danced in the corners, taking grotesque shapes that vanished the instant they were directly observed. Little Lily, the youngest daughter, was the first to see them. "They're in my bed," she said in a trembling voice. "They watch me with glowing eyes." Her parents, David and Sarah, tried to calm her, attributing her fears to a child's vivid imagination. But unease took hold of them, a dark premonition rooted in their hearts. One night, David woke up startled. The room was bathed in silver light, cast by the full moon. And there, at the foot of his bed, they were. Blurred silhouettes, barely distinguishable from the shadows, but undeniably present. They watched him with an intensity that chilled his blood. A voice, warm and familiar, resonated in his mind. "We are here to protect you." David tried to scream, but his voice caught in his throat. The figures slowly vanished, leaving behind a piercing cold and a feeling of absolute terror. From that night on, the Meyers' life became a downward spiral into madness. The apparitions became more frequent, bolder. The whispers became clearer, more menacing. The voice, which at first had sounded protective, now distilled a growing unease. "You will never leave." Sarah began to suffer vivid nightmares, grotesque dreams where the figures from the attic pursued her through endless labyrinths. David became obsessed with the history of the house, seeking answers in local archives, in the accounts of former residents. He discovered that the house had belonged to a wealthy family, the Hawthorns, who had mysteriously disappeared in the early 20th century. Rumor had it that they had practiced dark rituals in the attic, invoking entities from another world. Some said they had sealed something terrible there, something that should never have been released. One night, driven by desperation, David decided to confront the source of their terror. He took a lantern and climbed the creaking staircase to the attic. The air was heavy with dust and a nauseating odor. The shadows writhed around him, playing with his perception. In the center of the room, he found an old wooden chest. It was locked, but the lock had rusted and easily gave way to his trembling hands. Inside the chest, he found a leather-bound book, with yellowed pages covered in illegible writing. As he leafed through the book, a voice resonated in his mind, louder and clearer than ever. "You have opened the door." The figures from the attic appeared around him, surrounding him in a circle of darkness. Their faces, previously indistinguishable, became visible. They were the Hawthorns, the former inhabitants of the house, trapped between this world and the next, consumed by the entity they had invoked. "We feed on your sanity," said one of the Hawthorns, in a hollow, lifeless voice. "The more fear you have, the stronger we become." David understood the terrible truth. They were not there to protect them. They were there to consume them, to turn them into part of their eternal nightmare. He tried to run, but the figures blocked his path. They grabbed him with cold, bony hands, dragging him to the center of the circle. "You will never leave," they whispered in unison, as darkness enveloped him completely. Sarah, hearing David's screams, ran up to the attic. She found the book open on the floor and the chest empty. There was no trace of David. Only a deathly silence and the feeling that something terrible had happened. From that night on, Sarah and Lily joined the figures in the attic, trapped in the same nightmare that had consumed the Hawthorns and David. They became guardians of the attic, whispering empty promises to the new tenants, feeding on their fear, perpetuating the cycle of terror. And so, the house stands on the hill, waiting for its next victim, with the forbidden attic guarding its unspeakable secrets, and the whispers of the guardians echoing in the night. "We are here to protect you. You will never leave."